Okay, we're going to talk about internal growth now. Internal growth is basically, not basically, it is marketing. We'll talk, okay. Growth vehicle alternatives. General revenue generation versus cost control. There's no contest. I'm more interested in revenue generation than cost control. You can always adjust cost. The name of the game is revenue. You can never experience hypergrowth and quantum leaps in business without generating revenue. Laser beam focus on generating revenue. Peñaism. All managerial performance sins, which all of you are doing, shall always be forgiven during periods of rapidly increasing revenue. Anybody can cut costs. Anybody. Not anybody can generate revenue. And when I was the chairman of quantum marketing, quantum telemarketing, excuse me, 10 years ago, and we increased revenue 500% in 6 months. And when I've been involved in other companies, I normally focus on the revenue generation, and when Sally and I have been the team, she works on treasury management, cash management, and cutting costs. But I don't give a shit, you know. And when we took over that organization, all middle managers above had Mercedes. You drive into our parking lot, it looked like a Mercedes dealership. And I said, whose fucking idea was this? You know, and but that was part of their, their human resource incentive package to be a manager. And so they take a star salesman, they make a manager, and then he turns into a shit manager, and he's not producing any revenue anymore. That's invariably what happens. They take star salesmen, they turn them into managers, and then they produce any revenue anymore, and they're shit. They're normally not shit, but they're mediocre at best. Very, very, very few star salesmen are also star managers. It's a different gene code. It's a different gene code. Internal growth. I've told you that Costa Grasas, myself, and most of the other great leaders that I know, they do management by storing around. I try to relate as many of the things that I'm trying to get across to you to a story. And early in my career, I didn't have any stories. I had to use Grasso stories, or Jim Newman stories, or Jerry Orman stories, or my dad's stories. And then as I got, more mature in business and I got more experience, I obviously had my own stories. Now I got a jillion stories. I don't have to use anybody else's stories. Once in a while I use other stories. Stories, metaphors, are what people can visually see themselves doing. Just listing a bunch of facts on the board, for rote memory, because you're going to take a test, doesn't work. Or it doesn't work as effectively, I should say. Too many companies try to fix things rather than adopt things. In all the deals that you're involved, again, I'm not beating up on the chins. It's better to start over again and to drop this and try to fix it. You spend more time trying to fix it, and you could save a lot of time just dropping it. But that takes in, ego, your pride, and everything else, and that's why you don't do it. Let's reorganize to save the situation is their way of life. You can reorganize. Well, I shouldn't say that. You can reorganize, but not where it's going to accomplish what you want it to accomplish effectively. And, and it's not easy. If it was easy, you'd already be doing it. You would have read a book on it by now. It's not easy. It's better to drop it. And Robert's heard me say this, for a lot of years. We're better off firing everybody in a more or less honorable way and starting from scratch. Instead of trying to fix the problems. Now, if it's one little problem, but normally you somehow have infected the whole fucking deal. So it's like you don't just have cancer that you can take a biopsy and take the polyp out. You've got cancer in your bones, in your blood, in your brain, in your lungs, all your organs. Okay, we're going to grow internally. It's a game of marketing, and I agree with Jay Abraham in this, and marketing is just testing, it's not failure. And it's interesting that a guy on the internet can do a marketing campaign, and it doesn't work, and he doesn't take it personally. It's not like he's cutting his ego in half, and he's failed. Okay? But in other endeavors in business and in life. You do the same thing, like, you know, there's 20 girls in the bar and you ask 3 of them to buy you a drink and they all tell you to fuck off. That's testing. That's all that is. It's fucking testing. So why do you take it so personally? You take it so personally, then you don't even ask them. And then pretty soon you don't go to the bars. And then you go to harmony.fuck. And demanding the world has become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your nuts shrink every time you get demand. And pretty soon you got no nuts. These were the top brands in the last year. It's interesting, China Merchant Bank, its brand value growth grew 168%. That too should be there. And the BlackBerry, Amazon, Wendy's, AT&T, you know, and a number of companies. These are all brands that spent money on branding to increase their market share. You know, it's like Louis Vuitton. People know Louis Vuitton. People know Rolls-Royce brand. People know Cartier. So you want brand awareness, ultimately. Spielberg has brand awareness. Lucas has brand awareness. You know, a lot of those people have brand awareness. Brad Pitt has brand awareness. And so that's what you're initially or ultimately striving to do. Rolex, movie star, which is a phone system. McDonald's, Chevy's, you know.
Apple's not up there.
No.
That's weird.
No. It hasn't been in the top 20 growing.
Wow.
These are the ones that have grown in the last year. And Apple's been a brand for 20, 25 years. Countless proven and time-tested gurus, not me. I'm not a marketing guy. Although, about 10 years ago, I was voted along with 10 other people as the top 10 marketing guys in the United States. And I was interviewed at the first class, or the Continental President's Lounge at Newark. And the guys that wrote the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing were one, and then there was myself and 8 others. And I said, I'm being interviewed, and I asked the girl, young lady, I don't understand. How is it? Jay Abraham wasn't on there, Gary Hammond, none of the guys were on there. And I said, well, how is it that I could be in these top 10 marketing guys? Because I'm not a marketing guy. He said, well, there must have been a goofy definition of what marketing guys were. He says, yeah, somebody that took something that grew a brand from scratch successfully. Okay, I've done that. Great Western Resources was one of the great success stories of the 80s. I said, okay, if that's the definition of what you call marketing, then, well, if that's the definition, I ought to be number 1 on this fucking list. I shouldn't be number 7 because none of these other guys have done it, And so she laughed. Marketing is you feed a need and fill it. Don't worry about profits. Don't worry about competition. You're looking for something where you can add value and fill a need. Most products come to market with no marketing research. They don't do any marketing research. They just come to the market. Many movies come to market without marketing research. It's like that movie that Mikey's been alluding to, Jackass. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of Jackass knockoffs that come to market. When I filled a need and I took Great Western Public here, hundreds of companies came from all over the world to fill that additional need. And the need was for small, relatively small energy companies in the public market. In the UK, it was filling the market because they had just discovered oil in Argyll in the North Sea, which saved the country from going bankrupt. I helped fill that need for small exploration companies, and I had the guy that found the oil in the North Sea in Bob Dyke, who I already told you was called Dry Hole Dyke before he discovered the North Sea, because he had drilled 80 dry holes. 80. The company that he was with was Hamilton Brothers, and they were bankrupt. They just, they didn't know it, or they wouldn't admit it. Okay, and then I saw a need in the Netherlands, and I fulfilled that need. And I went public in Amsterdam for a dual listing. A bunch of people jumped on the bandwagon and did the exact same thing. But there aren't that many people that look at doing marketing research and a need to roll their product out. The great thing about the internet, you can find out if the need's fulfilled in minutes, at the very most hours, and at the very, very most days. Because they either bite on the ad or they don't bite. You either get traffic or you don't get traffic. Then the next level is, do you convert? Okay, you got traffic, that means you got to tweak it around so you can convert. And if you get traffic and you can't convert, well then it's worthless. You got to change it. But it's almost instantaneous. Your gratification is almost instantaneous, and you know whether the idea is viable or not. There's not many things in the world that you can do that. In the old days, you use direct mailing, you send it out, and you see what kind of response. And the reason the big advertising companies don't like the internet is because there is no response. You can't tell if an ad in Rob Report or an ad in Life magazine really draws any business in, because it's a generic ad, and then you're not selling anything in these ads. And that's why they say that the advertising industry has changed and will continue to change in the next 10 or 20 years. Whether it makes traditional advertising useless or redundant, I don't know. But I certainly know that advertising companies that haven't gone digital, their price earnings or their value, their market cap has decreased greatly than it was 5 years ago before Google. Now you can advertise on Facebook, and there's all kinds of ways to sell stuff on the internet. Tom Monahan's short-term angle at Domino's Pizza was to come up with a home delivery idea and build a system that delivered pizzas quickly and efficiently. There was a niche. He did this 20 years ago. There wasn't such a thing. Okay. His long-term direction was to build the first nationwide home delivery company as rapidly as possible. Because he also realized there's no barrier to entry. I mean, anybody can do this. And there are countless home delivery pizzas now. But he had, he was first mover, so he had a big advantage. Now, I don't know if they're still the largest, but I know certainly they are one of the largest, and I think they may have sold to somebody by now. I'm not positive. But he filled a niche. Monahan did it all without a complex 10-year plan. He didn't have a 10-year plan. He didn't have any plan. He just did it. And he was able to con somebody or convince somebody, sell somebody, and putting up the money. Don't try to be better. Try to be better and different. If you can't be first, you got to be different. And if you can't be first, you want to be better, but you got to be different. You got to hit the market with something different. And on the internet, again, you can find out almost instantaneously, and you tweak and you change around. You find an ad that works, you see it works from the volume, and there's all kinds of services on the net, compete.com and others, that show you, Alexa, that show you, the rankings and who's getting volume. And then you figure, how can you tweak that? How can you twist that? How can you make that viable for another product to perhaps fulfill some other need? And that, in that regard, I mean, it's instantaneous. In that regard, a lot of people that get displaced by the downsizing turn and they look for a job for 6 or 12 months and haven't been able to get a job, or they haven't been able to get somebody to fund their dream. They turn to the internet for marketing to sustain themselves while they continue to try to sell their dream. I see this in companies, again, we're talking about marketing. I see this in companies all the time. It's a good thing not to major in minor stuff. Most of you guys, and not you, I mean generically, most guys and gals know a lot of details that don't make money. I mean, the stuff that is important is the stuff that makes money, the major stuff. The tweaking of operations and making it more efficient about this and cutting costs and improving manpower development and manpower efficiency is all great. But if you're not selling the main concept into the main market, you're pissing in the wind. Marketing is a game fought in the mind of the prospect. You need money to get in the mind, and you need money to stay in the mind once you get there. The first thing that's cut in a downsizing of markets is the marketing budget. Unfortunately, because the guys at the top of the company didn't come up the marketing way, they're either finance or they're a lawyer or something, but it's the last thing you should cut. You should increase your marketing budget in a bad market, not decrease it, assuming your marketing budget works. I mean, your marketing program works. But because very few people get to be the head of any reasonable sized companies that came up marketing. Very few. Most of them came up through finance and or the legal. Money never starts ideas, it's the idea that starts the money. And that's why idea people, and I said, I think Tuesday, your best talent should be put on your best opportunities, not trying to solve your problems. Okay? And the ideas start. You need people with ideas. And then it's the job of the senior management, as I said, the founder, the CEO, to spend 95% of their time looking for the money and looking for other ideas or other people that can create ideas. Ideas without money are worthless. Money first, then marketing. Money's like a sixth sense, and you can't make use of the other five without it. Somerset Maugham, an English novelist. It is the sixth sense, and that's why when people say money's not important, I don't know what they're smoking or where they are, but it makes everything else possible. Your goals, your aspirations. But without the money, I mean, you know, I'm not saying that your life is useless, but that's not the case. But you certainly can't achieve what you want to achieve without the money. And be prepared to give a lot away. I mean that in two senses. Number one, and I don't mean give like you're not getting anything back, but spend a lot of money. And one of the best marketing tools that Microsoft has, and some of these other companies that are majority owned with options, there's no better salesperson for Microsoft than a Microsoft employee. And there have been tons and tons of people that have left Microsoft. One of the guys who went up into space, paid $20 million to go up in space, was a Microsoft software engineer. I forget his name, 3 or 4 years ago. I mean, there's a lot of people. In the old days, it used to be Disney and IBM, etc. And now I'm sure that Facebook and Google and the new generation of companies. The interesting thing that, this is 2-3 years old, but shortly after Google went public, it was what, 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
5 years ago.
5 years ago. Okay, 2-3 years ago, I sat in London with a guy that had a lot of stock options with Google, and he had walked away, well, in his terms, he walked away with $5 or $6 million. And I asked him why he walked away so soon, because now his stock would have been worth like $30 million. And he said, there were guys at Google that didn't think Google was going to make it. And there was guys at Google that thought it was an anomaly. And there were guys at Google that thought that Microsoft or somebody was going to come in and crush them. And I said, and so we left like thieves in the night. And you never can underestimate how wrong you can be, you know. And I hadn't really thought about that. But there were thousands of people that left Google with a few $1 million, but I mean certainly not what they could have been. And that's certainly what Microsoft thought about Google, and that's certainly what a lot of the other big companies thought about Google. Is it's not going to last. Of course, that's what IBM thought about Microsoft too. And so you always underestimate the competition. And the point is, again, you can never underestimate how wrong you can be. But IBM to a lesser extent, but Microsoft to a greater extent, then got in the business that Google's in. And they're doing some of the same things now. And because even though they're late comers to the party, they have the money and wherewithal to do it. So their barrier to entry is nothing. Because if you have plenty of money, you can do all these things. And I'm sure it's more expensive for what Google's doing to compete with Microsoft, but they can get it done. Steve Jobs and Wozniak had a great idea, as I said earlier, but it was the Marcellus 91,000 that put Apple on the map. For his money, he got a third. And in those days, it was cheap that he got a third. Only a third. I mean, now they take 2/3 or whatever. And it goes back to venture capital, etc. Now, Marcellus, as I said earlier, was chairman off and on for a long time, and he's still, I believe, unless he's died recently, he's still one of the leading entrepreneurs on the planet. But it's interesting. As much money as he's made on that and a few other ventures, I don't believe he's listed on Forbes billion, what do you call it? So even though he's made, like 600 million, he's lost 400 million on his other deals. And that's because it's still a crapshoot. 1/3 fail, 1/3 break even, 1/3 make it big. And there's nobody that just invents in the 1/3 that makes it big. You know, as Warren Buffett says, first rule, don't lose money. Second rule, don't lose money. 25th rule, don't lose money. But he obviously loses money, otherwise he'd be a gazillionaire. Bottom line, first get the idea, then go and get the money to exploit it through marketing, spending enough. Like war, marketing can be expensive. You can't save your way to the success. Depending on your ethnic background, depending on your socioeconomic milieu or where you come from, you know, inherently most people are cheap. And that's because poor people tend to be cheap. It's not very often that people that get poor and then they make money are lavish with their money. I'm an exception to that rule, but you can't grow a big company on the cheap. I've already said, big-time lawyers and accountants cost you at least 50% more than regular, and sometimes 200 or 300% more. There's a reason why you have these people, because they have the big international connections. They can help you with acquisitions. They can help you even find people. And they've got deep pockets to sue if they fuck something up. Okay, the big accountants and big lawyers don't like to hear that, but at least they got deep pockets, and they got big malpractice insurance policies. And when your little Schwartz and company fucks something up, who are you going to sue? Schwartz or company? I mean, who are you going to sue? You know, and they probably have malpractice insurance that pays out $25,000 or something if they make a mistake on assigning a lease or something. You know. So you got to remember, and it's hard to fight the instinct to try to save money or to be cheap. And I see it a lot of times, and most times, and and it's difficult to say, well, we're going to pay this guy, you know, $100,000, and you're used to paying $12,000, and you don't know whether he's good or bad or indifferent, and you don't see the benefit until down the road. And unfortunately, until somebody sues you or tries to sue you, or somebody does something, and then you realize because you have the kind of documentation that you have, and the deal has been papered in such a way that it fends off some of the lawsuits. And some people won't sue big law firms because they assume if Marcus can afford a big law firm, you know, Mike is going to sue him. And he says, "Shit, these guys are going to scorch the earth. They're going to, you know, they're going to fight me in federal court. They're going to fight me in a local state court. I mean, they're going to sue me in the 2 or 3 states I do business. It's not worth it. It's not worth it." You know, if Mikey's just in Beverly Hills and he's got a local lawyer and he's not an international lawyer, for Mikey to sue some Marcus, for example, in Austria, costs him more money. Okay, so big guys, notwithstanding they're more expensive, in the long run will bear out and make sense. Now, you have to manage them though. You have to manage them. You have to beat on them, just like you beat on the banker yesterday. Oh, you don't know my, all that shit. And you have to manage and you have to look at the bills, or have somebody look at the bills, and know that you're getting your just rewards. And bills that come in for services rendered, you know, $2 million or $20,000 are bullshit. I ask for itemized bills hourly. I want every task. I want to know who did it. In marketing, narrow focus to build a position in the prospect's mind. The next slide, I believe, is I'd rather be strong some way than weak everywhere. Most people start off with too many deals, too many projects, and you can't possibly follow them. As I understand Dave's business model, he's focused on 3 things, 3 items that you resell, fix up and resell. Is that correct? Yeah. And 3 is manageable. 3 is manageable. And but 23 is not. People tell me, well, I'm online. I have 1,400 things I sell. Do you know which is the 10th most profitable? Do you know which is the 3rd least profitable? Do you know this? Do you know that? Do you continually handpick things that you're going to deal with on your portfolio, even if you got 1,400 things? And the answer is normally no, 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 and no. And if you're keeping some things in inventory, it's even worse. So, because I won't even go into the inventory costs. But you want to focus on the few, not the many. Reduce product line. I can say that almost generally across the board, reduce product line. The generalist is weak. Be strong somewhere instead of weak everywhere. And and that's, and that's tough. And a lot of people want to be involved in several things, because what if project A doesn't work? Maybe project B, C, or D will work. Well, there's less chance that project A is going to work when you're spending time on project B, C, and D. Focus, on the few, not the many. Sales indicated the regular price was too high. You don't see Rolls-Royce making sales. You don't see Harry Winston Diamonds making sales, arguably the leading diamond merchant in the world. You just don't see that. I realize that we're in a wholesale market, and there's such thing as Target, and some of the other things. A few years ago was the first time I'd ever been into a super Walmart, which is a Walmart that's over 300,000 feet or 2 million feet or something. It's a big super. But I mean, it's like a city inside. They got merry-go-rounds for kids, and they've got McDonald's and Burger King and this and that, and I mean all kind of crap. And I'd never been in one, and so I'm walking around, and 3 or 4 people came and said, "Sir, can I help you? Are you lost?" I mean, no, I've just never seen. I'm noticing the marketing effort and all that. That's really great. Hi, my name's John, and I'm a Walmart. They got these guys that help you, when you walk in like you're a doofus or something. Hi, my name's John, and he's got some guy my age or older, retired, and they obviously have the whole concept of Walmart is reduced prices. And a second concept that Montgomery Ward used and Sears and Roebuck used and a lot of the big retailers is, I do business with Benjamin, and you supply me with product. And in year 1, then I say, pretty soon I'm taking 60% of your product, 70% of your product. And I might even buy 10 or 20% interest in your business. And then I tell you, we're cutting the price in half. And then you're fucked. That's how Sears and Roebuck grew. That's how Walmart grew. And a lot of other people grew. And I can't supply this stuff for you for 50%. And you're doing business in Taiwan or wherever the hell you're doing it. And they said, well, we're going to cut our business. We're going to move it someplace else. So then you're faced with the decision, do I give them the stuff 50% and take the time to build my business back up over 2 or 3 years? Or do I sell? He already owns 10%, so maybe I'll sell. And obviously this new sales price is not going to be based on the volume. It's going to be based on the volume that you would have without Walmart as your partner or Sears and Roebuck. Is it fair? Is it good? Is it, I don't know. Is it honest? Yes. Is it moral? No. You can't build a reputation on things you're going to do. The most important thing in this is doing the first deal. All the rest is bullshit. And as Henry Ford said, I mean, now you've done it. Not that I'm going to do it. And that's why to a young kid, the most important thing is doing a deal. And I know, like, I helped Benedict on a resume recently, and he has a lot of things. He raised money, and he helped to do this and do that. And I know that even though you talked about doing that deal, what you want is your own deal, to where you're the founder, and so to legitimize your efforts. And not just him; it's because I worked with him on it. I know the details, or I worked with the Chen family. I know the details. And as soon as I get a deal, now I happen to do a big deal, but I had done smaller deals. But I mean, as soon as I did a deal, I mean, I was considered. I went from wannabe to for real, and and as successful as you might have been for 5, 6 years or 25 years, when you're changing the model and you can start doing acquisitions, it's the first deal, because the bank sees that you have, and your partners see, and the other institutions see that you're going to want to be partners with you. They had an idea, the inception of an idea to full fruition in closing a deal. And there's a lot of steps that things can go wrong. And they overcame all those steps. And so by definition, you and your management team are looked in a different light. And that's what you want to be. You'll be given credibility for a chairman and an anchor chairman and a board, but until you're part of the first deal, I mean, you can only ride on the coattails so long. And then they say, well, what about you, Dave? I mean, so what about you, Benjamin or whoever? And that's why, as soon as humanly possible. And there's two ways of looking at the next thing I'm about to say. Obviously, you want to get the best bang for your buck, and you want to get the best deal you possibly can. But I'm here to tell you, doing a deal is more important than getting the best deal you possibly can. I'm here to say, making your first movie or your fourth or whatever, or your first feature movie or whatever, is more important than getting the highest rate of return or internal rate of return on your money. Because nobody asks you. I did $50,540,000 in business my first year in business by myself. $50 million. Nobody to this day has ever asked me how much money I made on that $50 million. Nobody. Not one banker. Not one girl at a bar. Nobody has ever asked me how much money I made on the $50 million. The $50 million speaks for itself.
How much can I?
$90,000. $90,000. Because I knew in my little brain back in those all those years ago, 50 million talks, and it even talks more then. Now 50 million ain't so much money. Now, you guys are like me. Now, Pass Out Robert doesn't think 50 million euros is so much money. And he says, when he was here, he sat right there. He says, 50 million, Jesus, Now he's big. It's cute. I love it. He's big now. 50 million. Were you part-time, Mr. Peña? You're only working part-time now, huh? You told me you never saw a high-performance person that was a part-time person. So now I love it. He's big. He's big. But at 50 million. But I have ridden that 50 million. It doesn't have legs anymore. It doesn't. The legs on the old cow have fallen off, and now I'm just like using her like a sled down a snow. Now I'm just riding the old cow, and her nipples and everything have been ripped off, and I'm down to her skeleton now. And fortunately, I followed it up with all kinds of stuff after that. See, I went like 3 million, 50 million, 450 million. So, and then, a bunch of deals after that. But it's doing the deal. And although at the time I needed more than 90 grand, believe me, when I was doing it. But, and again, it's the government. I'll tell you this story, how I did it with the government. And as I told you, you had to fill out papers this high, and nobody wanted to do it. So I realized that the refining capacity in the United States was only operating at 60% refinery capacity. So that means there was 40% excess capacity in the United States. So because I had just been thrown out of another company, and it was a family deal, and so I asked around. I went to the petroleum club in Los Angeles and talked to some guys, and I said, "What's the easiest stuff to refine? The easiest? I'm looking for the low-hanging fruit." And they said, "Well, I guess jet fuel, JP 4 and 5, the sign stuff the jets." Okay. So I looked at the refineries, and you can't do Google. Now you Google all this shit. Okay, you can't do Google it anyway. So some of the information I gathered was old, but I'm humping along, and I see that There's 18 or 20 refineries in the United States that are only operating at between 40 and 60% capacity to make jet fuel. But some, you have to be accredited by the United States government. And so that eliminated half of them, okay? There was a company called Marion Refining Company in Mobile, Alabama. And I go make an appointment to see the guy who's the president of the refinery, and he's a retired one-star general. And you know, and I reminded him I was an officer, former officer, and we got along fine. And I told him, if I could show you a way how you could turn, and I wasn't looking for all his refining capacity because he's never going to trust, no matter how much he liked me, he's never going to trust me with too much. If I can show you a way to turn part of your excess refining capacity into healthy margin, I didn't know what healthy margin was at the time, but I knew I should say healthy margin. Healthy margin, would you be interested? And he said, well, what do you have in mind? He says, government contract. No, we don't want to be in government contracts. It's too much pain in the ass. The government's always coming snooping around. Well, I said, I'll take that heat. I'll do it through my company, but I'll subcontract to you, and I'll do all the paperwork. Then I had to go find somebody that knew how to do the paperwork, anyway, which I knew. And we got one $20 million contract, a second $20 million contract, and then we got a $10 million contract. And we supplied JP4 and 5. In those days, it was you could buy it at $1.02 a gallon and sell it at $1.03, $3.50 a gallon. Plus you had to, or $1.12, excuse me, $1.12 a gallon. You had to pay the refining costs. So the spread was, I don't know, an eighth of a penny or something, and off all those gallons, we made $90,000. But when I get the check every month, I deposit it into a bank, not savings, checking account. So I wasn't making any interest, so it was really profitable for the bank. So every month I'd roll the $4 million from one bank to the next bank to the next bank, and so at the end of the year, you know, I had $300 or $400 million of money that had rolled over, and you know, the rest is history. The rest is history. Government contracts.
So you were rolling the money from the bank, Dan?
Yeah.
To build your credibility with the banks?
Correct. No, so I had credibility with more than one bank.
Ah, okay.
I had credibility with more than one bank. Okay. So now I was a player. So now I'm in the business. I'd set $2 billion goal, all these goals. So now what do? Well, in those days, I knew that from my Wall Street days, the tax shelters were available, so I went out and raised money for tax shelters. When you drill holes and you get more tax relief than you spend. And when I'm raising money, I'm telling the people who are looking in the prospectus that they get $50 million. You know, if you guys had in your prospectus that somebody had done $50 million and the company had done $50 million in business, you would have raised a lot of money. You would have raised a lot of money. Even though it's a different company, I mean, they've done $50 million in business. Just like you try to leverage off Bert and Ernie, you know, $5 billion company, Fortune 500, but that didn't relate close enough. If you're, yes?
If you initially plan to acquire a company and fund was going to squeeze you out.
You mean after you take the money from private equity, whatever, yeah.
Yeah. So you end up pulling out, not wanting the equity, but letting them acquire the 100% of the company, but you did help get them the funding. You know, all the funding.
Is that your track record? Is that what you're asking me?
Can you take credit?
Sure. I mean, you know, I initiated. People want to know. There's a lot of finders. Finders don't mean dick. Finders are like, lice or cattle. I mean, the finders are everywhere. Okay. Finders in normal, and that's why the problem I had in the movie business. Finders have a bad reputation. And there's all kinds of people in Mike's business. That was really my movie, and I really made that introduction, and they go on and sue. And finders are like business brokers. They're shitbags, for the most part. So you want to be more than a finder, because if you found a business that you gave to or sold the idea to Marcus, and he sold it to Dave, and you get a finder's fee, that doesn't mean anything. And Dave built it into a $4 quadrillion company. That's nothing.
You're the leeches.
Yeah. What you want is you want to be instrumental in the idea, the inception of the idea. And even though you might not have been there, you know, the idea was I brought it to them, and we were going to go public. We were going to you set up the framework, and so you want to be part of the deal as long as possible. And even if the private equity or venture capital firm are going to throw you out, you want, even if you have to cut your equity or what they pay you, you want to be part of the ongoing operation until fruition. Okay, you don't have to pay me for the idea. I'd rather have 10 grand a month till the deal, or whatever the number is, till the deal ends and exits, or until the funding comes in. So you can say legitimately that you were part of the deal from the inception of the deal to the exit. We were more than that for Four Seasons Crestacare, from the idea that was hatched in my dining room to 133 million pound privatization of a healthcare company on the London Stock Exchange, to the exit for 750 million pounds when they sold off to an insurance company. Now, the insurance company then took it bankrupt 5 years later for 800 million pounds because they paid us too much. Or they paid the management too much. But see, the Guthrie Group chain goes all the way. And that's why we have a good reputation in healthcare. Probably better, that deal is known infinitely better than I am, infinitely better than the Guthrie Group, even though we've done 30 billion in deals. That one chicken shit, it's not chicken shit, but that one deal was for a long time the most successful, biggest healthcare deal in Europe. I don't think it is now, but it certainly was up till 2005 when it was sold to the insurance company. And who do you want to buy your deals? Insurance companies. If you got a choice, insurance companies, because they historically overpay. They historically overpay. Okay. Now, if you're not, we're talking about marketing, okay, and if you don't understand internet marketing, you should, but if you're not part of this now, this guy here on my left knows, if you're not part of this, and or this, you're fucked. Facebook, Twitter, and Google. This is the future, and the real future is this, Facebook. And you better learn. If you don't know, you better fucking learn. And you don't have time to learn. Let Dave read the book. In 4 or 5 years, he'll understand. You just go hire somebody for, some grunt that just came out of college or just got a master's degree and unemployed.
Or outsource it.
Yeah, exactly. Or outsource it. And when you outsource it, you get 3 or 4 bids. And, you can outsource shit in in the Philippines and in India for peanuts. That's why I say I don't understand how the government spends $67 million on the website. It's beyond my comprehension. I just don't understand how they spend $67 million on their website.
How much?
$67 million on their website. Siemens paid $200 and some million for their website. It's impossible. It is not possible.
$207 million.
Yeah, no, euros.
Euros.
It is not possible. It can't be done. And there's other examples. I can give you other examples. NBC paid a shitload for their website. You can get a website put up for, how much, $50? $50.
That's a pretty damn good website, right?
Yeah. I don't know what the government paid for their website, but I bet you it's a shit ton of money.
The programmers are eating caviar.
Yeah, well, and one of the 5 Germans we had here, right where Benedict is, he's a big-time programmer from the fatherland, and we were talking about this, and he just laughed, and not when we were being taped, but when we were off the tape, he says, something costs $5,000, there's maybe $300 a time in it, and something costs $25,000, there's maybe $2,000 a time in it. And, all prices are adjusted to the size of the company or the color of your skin. And that's just the way it is. Okay, but these are, where it's at. And I know Robert remembers when I first try to understand briefly, and it only lasted a while because I realized I was never going to understand it, and I was wasting my time trying to, and so, but a few years ago, I'm trying to understand the Google and the clicks and the conversions and the AdSense and all this other horse shit. It's not worth my time. It just isn't. It's almost not worth anybody's time, especially because you can have it done fairly inexpensively. We're going to do another role play. Why don't we have Benedict and Benjamin?
Perfect.
Perfect. Perfecto. Okay. Now, you were both bankers in the last deals that you did. Both. Okay. But since Benjamin looks like a banker today, and Benedict looks like a slimeball entrepreneur with his Guthrie Castle shirt, now, have the Guthrie Castle shirts been put on your beds yet?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Did they fit?
Yes.
Try them on. If they don't fit, we got 42 million of them.
Oh,
Only 42 million. And and did your hats been put on your bed?
Yeah.
Guthrie Castle hats. Anything else been put on your bed yet?
Yeah.
Hooker, or I mean,
Skirts.
no. On the kilts, you got your kilts.
You have
Okay.
to try those on too.
Well, and if you don't know how to put them on, Doc, the butler, will be around.
Fuck you, man! You missed it.
I did. That's so funny.
It's in his
We were in the car last night. Everybody knows Doc's little plate.
Well, Doc. Well, Doc.
Oh, that was good.
You know, when I first came here and I had a butler, I'd be taking a bath and they stand right there with a towel. And then they put a towel around you, and then they come and they lay out the clothes and all this shit. And after about 3 baths, I said, I don't need that. And my kids, you dress little kids, but I mean, my kids, when they got to be, I don't know, 6 or 7, Dad, we don't need these guys dressing me, and they pick out the clothes. And they'd invariably, as you got to be older, invariably they pick out clothes that you don't want to wear as a kid, just because it looks nice. I mean, kids don't give a shit about that, And this is before the baggy pants and putting the hats on crooked and that kind of shit. But yeah, Doc will be around to help you.
Last night, Robert,
We
in
were
the car,
hysterical the whole time.
Yeah.
he might as well been on stage as a fucking laugh out loud comedian. He was crushing it last night.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I was talking about the T-shirts at breakfast this morning. I said it should say Dan's disciples, and somebody else goes, "That'll cost them more money."
Yeah.
He was not gonna
But
do it.
yeah, well, anyway, it's not that easy to put on the kilt and all the shit. So, and a lot of guys have showed up with it on backwards, and I mean, to the casual observer, Dave won't know that your kilt's on backwards. Yeah, you won't. But I mean, when we have a photographer coming tomorrow night, and we're going to film some stuff, and we're going to ask you to say some shit into a camera, and then we have a professional that will provide us with a disc, so you can have you can take the disc and then take whatever pictures you want and publish them and use them however you want. But we have a little award ceremony, and there's a couple of other things you're going to get. But that's funny. But I mean, Dave hasn't been around to help anybody with a bath or a shower, has he? I hope not. That's not what we told him to do. But that's funny. But a lot of, I don't know if a lot of butlers are of that persuasion or not.
We're guessing this one is.
Huh?
We're guessing this one.
Well,
is.
I don't know if he is or he isn't, but I don't give a shit either. So, okay. You're going to be the banker. Your brother's going to be, Benedict is going to be the slimy entrepreneur. Okay, and we're going to let you, Benedict, choose your deal and set up the parameters for yourself that you're going to sell your brother, or want to try to extract money from your brother. Okay, what do you want to do? What deal?
Could you make up one? Or?
Oh yeah, I can. I mean, water in China. I mean, let's be real about it. Water in China, environmentally friendly hotels. Make it real. I mean, something you both understand. And you've got one hotel that's under contract. Let's forget all the shit with it. But you got one hotel that's under contract, and you need $10 million to be able to buy the inventory and to put it in the other hotels. A big chain of what's the cost per hotel now? The guesstimate of how much you do to each hotel?
Let's say $100,000.
Okay, $100,000. So you want to do 50 hotels.
Mhm.
So what's that? 5 million?
5
Yeah.
million.
Okay, $100,000 a hotel,
Mhm.
and he's with. I'll make it slightly screwy. He's with Goldman Sachs. This is all in-house jokes. He's with Goldman Sachs, and you met him in a previous life in Boston when you were interviewing with Goldman Sachs. No, we'll leave that part out. But he is with Goldman Sachs. Okay, and they've got a fund for environmentally friendly stuff in China, which you probably do. I don't know. Yeah, and you've sent him your executive summary. You sent him the profiles, your chairman, etc. Obviously, you're Chinese descendant, and you speak Chinese. And you obviously before you see him that he's also Chinese. That's not you're Chinese, and he'll know the same. Although I've gone to meetings where I thought Dave was going to be there, and Dave's boss was there. That's okay, but if Dave's underling is there, that's not okay. Okay. And I don't like switching bait, like I said earlier, That's why we call. You've already verified who's going to be at the meeting. He has the credit authority to do this. He's got some environmental water experience in China. You're looking for a commitment so you can go back to the hotel chain and do these hotels. And it's, you can say it's, I guess, to retrofit, it's probably an 18 to 24 month project. Okay, it's up to you. Go sit over there. Pitch him.
Hi, how are you? Welcome to Goldman Sachs. Thanks for coming to Shanghai, and let's get to know what you're doing.
Right. Well, we've been in the project for a couple years now, and we've had some tremendous progress. So we've been we're looking for let me give you a little bit of introduction about business. Sure. And
Maybe I can give you a little introduction about Goldman Sachs. First, you've probably heard of us before, but we've got a green tech fund that we're very excited about and interested in investing to opportunities in the China green tech space. We're ready and we're willing, we're available. So hope that your opportunity is the right one for us. We hope that there will be some great returns for our investors and our LPs in our fund. So we'd love to get to know your background, your management team, what you're doing here.
LPs means limited partners. But
Okay.
And as I understand, Goldman Sachs is actually the world leader in LEED certified real estate. So I'm sure Envirotech is actually using Envirotech system. You can actually improve and gain points towards LEED certification.
Oh, that's good to know.
Right. So just wanted to give you a little background. We started the company a little while back with various founders that we have on the. Well,
Can you tell me a little bit about the founders?
right. I don't want to.
Oh, yeah. I heard there's a Dan Peña as the chairman.
Right. Well, Mr. Peña took $820 and turned it into $450 million
Okay.
in a short period of time.
Mhm.
We have various other people. We have Dr. Peter Glick on the advisory board,
Mhm.
who's a spoke at the World Economic Forum,
Mhm.
internationally renowned expert. We have. Is it okay to mention these names?
Yeah.
Okay.
Those names are going to sell a lot more than your name. So,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it's all right. I mean, we can edit that shit out. Just keep talking. It's all right.
Okay. We're working with Mr. McDonough's group, who wrote the book Cradle to Cradle. If you're familiar with that,
Okay. Yes.
is internationally renowned. A lot of the lead certified architects use his methodology, aim towards his methodology.
Yes, we've actually worked with him on a deal in the past before, so we're very good. I believe he's also with one of the funds that we work together with.
Mhm.
Okay, very good.
Great. And we have, anyway, we have former Mayor of San Francisco, Willie Brown,
Mhm.
and
Okay, good. How does Willie Brown fit into this whole?
well, he
He's
actually,
a politician.
well,
so.
he has relationships with Hu Jintao, both premiers of China, both Hu Jintao, as well as Wen Jiabao, sorry.
Okay.
And he hosts many dignitaries whenever they're in San Francisco, and he helps build that relationship and build that connection.
But
Because
business-wise, how does this work? I mean, this is
Well-
politics, government. How
well-
does that relate to your deal?
Government, for a long time, China has, the businesses that the government support, because the way China's government is that if you work in areas where the government is supportive, you have the best chance at organic growth. And
Okay.
for instance, because
Okay.
yeah, since China set aside $586 billion in infrastructure,
Who set aside?
China's government,
Oh, okay.
central government, set aside $586 billion just for the infrastructure, and a large portion of that being just for water.
Do you believe you have access to this money?
Absolutely, because just the relationships for, and we fall perfectly into that criteria. We've been contacted by various.
Keep talking.
Is there a reason why you would need? So how can we help you if you have access to this money? How can we be of help to your organization?
Sorry.
If you have access to all this government money, how can we be of help to assist you in this opportunity?
Well, we need. What we're looking to do is we have a series of systems that cost about we have a series of contracts with large hotel chains, such as we previously had. I don't want to mention.
Just make up a name then. Make up a name.
Make up a name.
We had
Hilton Group, whatever.
I don't want to.
The Guthrie Hotel chain.
Right, the Guthrie Hotel chain, and they have a series of hotels.
Mhm.
There's about 800 hotels in northern China alone.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about the money that the rate of return and how your company makes money from
Mhm.
installing these systems and these hotels, the Guthrie Hotel chain that you mentioned, and how many there
Well, the
are in
way-
China?
Sure, the way it works is that we go to these hotels and we install a system, a proprietary system that that uses the latest technology.
Does this have a patent? Is it protected?
Well,
Is that-
in China, there's the way there's no such thing as intellectual. China doesn't support the kind of intellectual property.
Okay.
I'm sure everybody understands that.
So,
And so, I mean, the only way to really have an advantage in China is to have a first mover advantage, which we do. We're the first in the space, and we're the only in the space, which could change. But right now, we have a great deal of interest and a great deal of publicity.
Okay.
And
Sorry, the other question was, how are you going to make money from all this?
well, the contracts are from anywhere from 5 to 10 years. One of the largest hotel chains, we have a 10-year contract already.
Okay.
and we're just looking to install our systems in all their buildings.
Do they have to pay for this, or how does this all work? How much does this cost the hotel? You know?
Well, it's only gonna, it's based on either a fixed cost or they have to meet a minimum criteria, and if they go above that, they pay for the variable cost.
Mhm.
And so the break-even point is, it's a maximum is about, let's see, well, it's halfway through the contract.
Okay, halfway through the
It's
contract.
halfway through the contract. Sorry, it's 2.5 years.
Oh,
Right, it's 2.5 years
okay.
for a 5-year contract.
5-year contract. Okay.
So on a
understand.
10-year contract, of course, that's a lot greater margin.
So how much money do you need for all this? I'm assuming you're looking for how many projects do you have at hand? You said you have.
Well, we're looking at, about 50 hotels.
Okay, 50 hotels.
I-
You have.
Well, actually, in general, we're targeting the 800 hotels just in northern China that are 4 to 5 star, but we're looking to build track record with 50.
Okay.
So.
Where are these 50 hotels?
These 50 hotels are in northern China where the water is very scarce and they have a great need to recycle their water because.
Okay. So you need money for 50 hotels. You need to install them. It costs $100,000 per a typical 5-star hotel, and it's going to take 2.5 years with a 5 to 10 year contract to make money back. Okay. So what kind of risk what kind of money? What kind of funding are you looking for?
Well, right now we're looking for we're doing equity financing right now.
Okay.
And we're looking to sell about 19% of the company.
9% of the company. 19% of the company. And how do you derive that valuation, 19%?
Well, just based on future. Sorry.
How do you derive that 90% valuation? Say, for example, you need financing for 50 hotels. 50 hotels is $100,000 each. So 50 times $100,000, right? That's
$5 million.
$5 million. Thank you. So you need $5 million for a number. I don't know what 5 years, 3 years, right? Or maybe I don't know whatever time period you need. How do you come to the calculation that's $5 million for 90% of the company?
How is the company worth 5 times $5 million or $25 million is what he's saying.
Right, thank you. Or maybe we have a discussion about that.
Okay, I'll not stop you, I'm gonna help him out a little, okay.
How much money we making? Yeah.
We didn't get to that yet, okay. Now, Benjamin, you sound like a good banker still.
Very thorough.
Yeah, and, okay, these are some things, and because since we've now done this 4 or 5 times, and every time we do it, we're still gonna do it a bunch of more times before the end of tomorrow. Okay, when you're given the presentation, the things that Benjamin is asking are reasonable questions, you know. Why is the company pre-money worth $25 million? And the answer cannot be based on future projections. Okay, and this is an argument I had already with you, not you, but you know who.
Yeah.
Okay. Because right now the company's worth 0.
Right.
Nothing. And the way to sell it is, and if it were true, and I'm going to make up some facts that aren't true. We did it one time successfully. It cost us $135,000, but we think economies of scale, we can now do it $80,000 per hotel, but we're going to round it up to $100,000 because you never know what the fuck's going to happen in China. Don't say it that way, but you never know what the fuck, who you might going to have to bribe to get a permit or some shit. Okay, so we're increasing our cost by 25%, 100%, 100 grand. Of that 100 grand, we believe that there's going to be, a 15% margin, which isn't worth doing a project for. But because we're going to charge them over 3 to 5 years, the money we're going to make, unless the models change, is after they pay off the hard costs, then their costs are there forever, and we reap the benefit. Okay? Now that's very much like a franchise, and people will like that. What they won't like is the fact they got to wait 3 or 4 or 5 years. And what they won't like is the possibility that once they pay off the deal, they'll just keep the machine and tell you to fuck off and, won't pay you. And as we both know, suing people in China is like pissing in the wind. Okay. And that's always been the weakness of the model. But let's say it's not a weakness now. Let's say that it's like in America. Take out a 10-year contract, you're probably going to fulfill it, unless you go belly up. And the biggest hotel chains in China aren't going to go belly up. So that's a good thing. So you're taking advantage of the fact that you're first there, which is a big deal. Okay, you've already done one hotel, and one hotel has already been profitable, and you realize that you can do it for cheaper and quicker for the next 50 hotels than you did for the first hotel. Okay, if you hadn't done the one hotel, this would be an incredibly hard sale.
Right.
I don't care if you had Jesus Christ on the board, because it's like any place else. What have you done for me today? You haven't done anything. Okay. But assuming that one thing, leverage off the one hotel. The fact that the one hotel is in Shanghai and all the other things brings credibility, because you're not out in some province that that nobody heard of, because you're in the financial capital of China, is a good thing. Now, okay, so we brought up to speed like that. So now, Benjamin's questions, and maybe ask me the questions. And because I think I know the answers better yet, what kind of questions are you going to, what now that you know what I just said, what's the next line of questioning?
Okay, so now that you...
I'm your brother now.
Okay. So now that you've already spoken all that to me, right, and I understand that, okay. All right. This has gotten all of a sudden very difficult. Okay.
I probably have the answers.
Yeah.
I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure I have the answers.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, Mr. Chen, I'm sure we can help you. The opportunity sounds fantastic. You're first in the market. It seems like you have a technology that's unique. You have the green story, which is hot. You have the China story, which is hot. We're very interested, and I'm sure Goldman Sachs would be delighted to help you. Is there let's see, I'd like to find out a little bit more about some of the numbers and how we can, the valuation and since this is an equity deal now, and I understand you want to sell either a preferred or some kind of common stock, and you can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, maybe a combination.
Maybe a combination, right. Can you tell me, do you have something a little more that you've have you thought beyond what you've already told me?
Yeah. Our model is based on Fu Manchu model that have done the exact same thing, not in water purification for hotels, but in ABC, and they paid the money. The 3-year deal turned into a 5-year deal, and that's because things like that happen in China. But we think that based on the success story of the Fu Manchu story, we can perform at least as good as them, if not better, with our senior management team that we've got, and the Pulitzer Prize winning and the yada yada yada, and Willie Brown, who can't wipe his own ass, but anyway, Willie Brown. We believe that, and as you'll see the numbers, and we based everything on our middle case to worst case, not high case, that we can have an internal rate of return of between 35 and 40% on the money invested, and that which we believe supports the $25 million valuation of the company. We would like one investor, ideally. We're talking, I'm sure you understand, we're talking to more than one potential investor because we don't know Goldman Sachs' appetite. Now, the truth of the matter, I would already ask him before I ever got there. What's Goldman Sachs' appetite? Are you just seeing me because Willie told you to see me? You don't need meetings like that. Other than depending on who's giving the presentation, you need some practice. If you and your brother are giving the presentation, you need some practice. But I mean, if some of these senior guys are giving the presentation, then you don't need any practice, and you don't want to waste somebody's time. And so your appetite, we know you have an appetite. We know your current fund is only 73% invested. We know that rumor is, and of course I don't know inside information, but you want to close the fund out before January 1.
Right.
Okay, that's when you want to go see these guys, when they're at the tail end of the fund and they got to get it closed out. Because as soon as it's closed out, then they can jump into the new fund and they can, leave that, the management of the fund is all they're worried about, because there's two phases of a fund. There's the raising the money for the fund, and you normally make a commitment for 6 or 7 or 8 years that the partners at Goldman Sachs will stay with the fund for that 6 or 7, 8 years, because they're not going to get any big money on the rates of return and the carry until the fund sells out. Sells out. So there's the closing up of the fund and the initiation of the raising of the money of the new fund. Okay, so I realize that you've got a, rumor on the street is that you're trying to close the fund up before December 31. Can I, off the record, can I ask you, is that true?
Well, we're always open to good opportunities.
Yeah. That's the kind of, he's not going to tell you, but he might wink at you like this, and tell you that, they're trying to close the fund.
What I will tell you...
And if he is trying to close the fund, you get on this guy like a cheap suit. I mean, you get on this guy like a cheap suit because, let's say you're only talking to me because of Willie, but you don't tell me that. But, you get on this guy like a cheap suit because he wants to close the fund. You want the money.
And I want the bonus.
Yeah, and he wants the bonus. So, you stay on this guy.
I want to go to the strip club.
Yeah, exactly, the strip clubs,
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So, Mr. Chen, I understand valuation of the deal, and that's very nice. Can you tell me a little bit about the risk factors that you might anticipate in this deal? And,
I'm sure you're going to do your own SWOT analysis, but the risk factors to me are that a new government comes in China, or a new government comes in those provinces. The provinces will be supportive of the major government, so as long as the major government doesn't change, the provinces aren't going to change. And an additional risk is the people that are actually, the governor of a province may die, and that happens, and whether the next guy that takes over, although I know there's continuity in China, and nobody gets too radical for a lot of obvious reasons that you appreciate better than I do, but there's always that delay, and when that happens, even if they continue to fulfill the policies that were enacted before, it's, and there's a change in government, it takes longer. There's new people. I'm the new head of the governor. I'm going to appoint new heads of all the departments, and that takes time.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
Okay.
What about water in general? It's a very regulated industry, especially in China, where water is a very heavily regulated, and there's a lot of controlled policy. And I know you're working with international, very well-known big hotel chains, and you are installing projects in tier 1 and mega cities in China, but that have a little bit more checks and balances than the smaller cities. However, could there be a risk of in a change of industry, change of policy, government policy, in the regulation of water that will affect this deal?
well, because we're adhering to the 11th five-year plan, and we believe that we're also in line from what we've been able to find through leaks for the 12th five-year plan, that we're going to be right on the mark, and so
Okay.
we're not as concerned about that, and it's down our risk list.
Very good. All right. Well, we feel comfortable enough to move forward with a deeper discussion, and we'd like to meet the rest of your team. We'd also like to look at some more of the numbers, which and also. But I do have a question about your exit strategy and the exit strategy of our investors. That would probably be my wrap-up question.
Okay. Well, and absolutely. Nobody, at my age, nobody's more interested in exit than me. And we believe that the most likely exit is to IPO, not an industry sale. And and one of the primary exchanges here in China, but if not here, in the United States, and of course, or the UK. As you so aptly pointed out, China's hot, water's hot, and we've already touched base with some experts in the United States and in London and here in China, that while IPO couldn't really happen with any certainty now, in the next 3, 4, 5 years, as China lifts regulations, and they made an announcement here in 2010 that they are looking seriously at lifting some more regulations to make it easier. We're already obviously set up with a WFI and go through all that. WFI is a wholly owned foreign entity, so we can facilitate a public offering. This is going to be done with, can be done with a Singapore company or whatever. We're already set up to do that. So the thing that we're waiting on, heretofore, private money of the founders and some of the friends of the founders has funded this. What we need now is a quality, major bracket financial institution like yourself with your reputation. Of course, we realize, as you said just a minute ago, you're going to continue to do due diligence, and this is a preliminary meeting. And all you saw was the executive summary that said what the general business concept is. But we can come back with detailed spreadsheets, etc. A proper SWOT analysis, our own obviously, which is slightly biased in the SWOT analysis you're going to do, and justify with no questions or reservations that although there's risk in all investments. I mean, the risk would be lessened based on the quality of the people that we have and our experience in getting deals done, not just in the United States, the United Kingdom, but in foreign countries.
Very good, thank you. We do have a checklist of due diligence items. However, do you already have some material available that I can
Absolutely.
look at?
Absolutely, and I can have that emailed to you from my Chinese assistant, Jing Jing, which is true. That's her name, Jing Jing. And how do you say the other one? Lishua? My other one?
What was her name?
Lixua or
Lishua.
Lishua. I have another one, Lishua too, as well. And I also have a fluent Chinese-speaking son that's here in Shanghai that will be the forefront of anything that we may do going forward. But he's not the project manager, because the one thing, they don't want to think some young MBA kid's going to be the project manager. No, I will personally be involved, and we will have senior people involved. But he's on the ground here, and so he can follow up and do whatever is necessary to facilitate us going forward. But I will get you information within 48 hours, and it'll be emailed to you. And if you have any problems with it, just please email me back.
Fantastic. You have my business card with my email address. Please give me a call if you have any questions, and we look forward to taking a look at your information.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure.
Okay. Now, obviously, I could have given you a presentation of what we probably will do when Bruce gets here, where I'm the banker and the other side, so you hear all the questions and how to answer them. And again, I mean, you're not going to be anything like that smooth because you haven't done it, but once you do it, 15, 20 times, you'll feel more comfortable. And then when you realize it's only a numbers game, it's like asking the bitches that are walking down the street. It's only a numbers game. I would assume in the movie business, Mikey, you don't have to go to 17 numbers to get laid.
Better averages.
Yeah. I think the averages are a little better. And it's a matter of being comfortable. Okay, we're going to do it some more, today and tomorrow. The more comfortable you are with your own skin, in your own skin, the better you'll do. I can assure you, even as polished as the most polished guy in this room, except for myself or gal in this room, you'll be nervous the first time. I would be stunned if you weren't nervous, and your hands may perspire, and your mouth may get dry, and all the other things that used to happen to me many, many years ago.
Or you're not asking for enough.
Huh? Oh, well, yeah, but that's true. Or you're not asking for enough. But I mean, the first time you give a presentation, I mean, Mike has already pitched people for money and stuff like that. But and it's no different whether you ask for $1 million or $100 million. The fundamentals are the same. The fundamentals are the same. And Marcus and I were talking about numbers and goals, etc. And, he says, I think so. And when a German Austrian says, I think so, that means he can do it. He's not really thinking about it. He's saying he can do it. And you'll do it. And I can assure you, whether you're doing it in Austria or France or whatever, I mean, it's about the same. And as I was telling Benedict last night, the one thing that I discovered in the last, since February of this year, is that since I did it in South America and Kenya and Kuwait and Yemen and France and Germany and Iceland and the Netherlands and all the Benelux countries and in Russia, it really isn't that much different in China. It just isn't. It isn't, even though I was, led to believe otherwise. And the formula works. The steps work and have worked in China since February for us, for me, myself personally, and the Guthrie Group. And so, but it's still all about credibility. It's still all about your board. It's still all about who you know and who can make an introduction. And if you have people that can make introductions, so you're not starting at this level, but you're starting at this level, it's not easy, but it's easier. It's easier. And in that particular case, if they can credibly sell the story on the first hotel, which has some hiccups in it, but if you can do that, it'll make his job easier for the next 50. And so far, my experience in China is they don't do too much due diligence. They don't really question whether you did it or not. They haven't, and I don't think anybody in China has made a phone call on me, which has been fucking stunning to me.
Very relational.
Yeah, and the only thing that happened, one of the Guthrie team used to be with one of the law firms that we interviewed, and I didn't even realize it, by serendipity, and he says, so-and-so it used to be with such and such, and I go, yeah, and actually I wasn't at that meeting. Derek called me up and said, with so-and-so with such and such, and I said, well, read her fucking resume. And yeah, she was. He says, well, they were very much impressed, and they went and checked, and she was a big hitter until she started having kids. Then she left, and she's up counsel now, which means she still does work for them, but she's not there every day. And and as Benjamin said, they're relation orientated, and so they value the relationships. Okay, any questions on what either Benedict or Benjamin did, or what I did and Benjamin did? You understand?
The only question I have, Dan, is there was a big stumbling block there that you mentioned, and you said, well, just pretend that it doesn't exist. But if they're in China, they, you can't sue them. Let's say you put in 100 of these systems, or 1,000 of these systems, or whatever, and then they choose not to pay you for it after X amount of time or whatever, then how do you overcome that risk?
Well, what we've done, and I can't speak for them because I've done this, is that we found that if the introduction is made by the government, and assuming the same government's still in, it's not likely that they're going to fuck you because they don't want the government on their back. Okay. And so what we've used government introductions that we've been able to initiate, and in some cases the law firms have been able to initiate those government introductions. In some cases, because I've been invited down to Changsha by the government to work with them, they reluctantly made introductions into the other provinces because they would rather not see me leave China, as opposed to, even though I don't want to do business initially in their province. So we've got the government been involved, and to the extent that the government has been a minority shareholder in a lot of these things, they've invested in thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of companies. And their rates of return to the Chinese funds have been shit, basically. I mean, very poor. Yeah. The best return in the entire country is China Cement, where the Chinese government put up money and they got 4 times their money back when the company went public in England. And my experience, and it's maybe because where I'm coming from and where the Guthrie Group is, they're more interested in going public in the UK than the US because they've been scammed by the pink sheets and all the other shit. And even though the UK's got a lot of problems, there's no pink sheets, you know, and they haven't been scammed. So we've had a lot more success saying that we're going to go on AIM, and which is the NASDAQ or the American Stock Exchange is compared to the London Stock Exchange, which is the main, or the New York Stock Exchange. And so, so the government introductions. But even at that, if they decide not to pay you, you don't have much recourse. You don't have much recourse. And I mean, other than going back to the government and, you know, and doing something, you know, untawdry. But I mean, suing somebody in China takes a long time. And, you know, the courts are backed up for fucking 1,000 years. Yeah, I mean, and nobody's in, you know, in a lot of instances, nobody's in a real hurry. They've been around 10,000 years, and so they don't sweat the small stuff.
There's always a way.
Yeah, there is a way. There is a way. Fortunately, we haven't had to get to that point, but it's
You always find your justice.
yeah, there is justice, but you know, it's a huge opportunity. But whereas somebody like Goldman Sachs is going to do more due diligence than a Chinese bank, so the Goldman Sachs will see if the first hotel really did what you said. They're not going to just accept it on faith, and because these guys are.
They'll even bring in a lab expert to check it out.
Yeah, I mean these guys were educated, you know, at Dartmouth or something.
Yeah.
You know, well, that's a very nice, Mr. Chan, but we'll go check for ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, and so you got to be careful what you say. Whereas, you know, you tell a Chinese guy, and he, you know, the odds are he's not going to go check it out. That's when we were going to buy these power plants 4 or 5 months ago, and when I said I wanted to look at the power plants, everybody looked at me like I was crazy. You know, why do you want to look at them? What do you mean? Why do I want to look at them? Because I want to see them with my own eyes. They're 13 hours by car away. You know? Were you there at that? Okay. And I said, well, get a helicopter. You know? Everybody looks kind of, you know, freakish. And, but we didn't pursue the opportunity. But the fact that we wanted to look at them, they were dumbfounded. So I'm just going to believe that you got 5 power plants up in 2,900 miles away in East Jesus? Yeah, and they showed me some pictures of them, but you know, I could be pictures of anything, you know, how do I know? And I said, I want to Google them. From Google Earth or Google Earth? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
What are the coordinates? Well, that's all I had to hear was, yeah. And he wasn't trying to figure out what to say in English either. And, you know, whether it was 5 power plants. I'm sure there was 1. And I think he wanted the money to build the other 4. But when you're dealing at the Goldman Sachs level or Morgan Stanley and that kind of stuff, they're going to do, no matter where you are, whether you're in Botswana, they're going to do the due diligence. Especially now with the Goldman Sachs fund. I mean, Goldman Sachs needs another lawsuit like they need AIDS. They don't. So in some respects, even though it's so much credibility when you have Goldman Sachs as an investor, you know, it separates you from everybody else. But it's almost better, not better, but it's certainly easier not to have such a high-profile investor so you can have a deal done. But if you do a deal with Goldman Sachs out of the blocks, I mean, the rest should be pretty, not easy, but much easier because you will ride the Goldman Sachs tail or horse till its legs fall off. Okay. I want to do one more presentation before we come back and we talk about. So who we're going to have another opportunity to do role play. Who wants to do what? Volunteers?
I'll do it with somebody.
Mikey? Okay. We want you to pitch your movies, your thing better than the first time. So who wants to be the bank with Mikey?
Can't be me.
No. Okay. I mean, Dave looks like a dour banker that wouldn't give you ice in winter, so you're the banker. Okay. Let's take a pee break if you need a pee break.
I'm gonna be tough on you, Mike.
Tough.
Tough, go ahead.
You can't be tough enough.
Okay. Don't
I
ever say that, because
I
I've said that and I've gotten in trouble in my career. You know. I want you to treat him like what's the lowest form of life in Russia? St. Petersburg.
A bum on the street.
Okay.
Bum on the street.
Well,
A vodka
here-
drinking bum on the street with a big blue nose. Ready?
Okay.
You want me to be laser beam focused on a specific movie or like
No, the general project.
a,
The general project that we talked about.
the studio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What do you call it? Gold Rush?
Well, Gold Rush Pictures is my production company. I'm thinking about the actual studio, like the independent film factories.
Do that then.
Okay.
I wanted to ask more questions, but I didn't want to, delay it or stretch it so long.
No, it's all right. I mean,
Should I have just asked the questions, or should I have?
yeah, you should have asked the question. That's fine.
Okay.
Because it's a learning process, and I mean, because you're really working on this thing, I mean, it's a great exercise for you.
Okay.
And not that we ever did it, but I mean,
Right.
if we had done, I mean, we would have gone through countless presentations and practices, and we would have had it buttoned down,
Right.
before you step into the room. I mean, it's a learning experience while you're giving the presentations, but you want to be as prepared as you humanly possibly can. And I don't know this for a fact, but I'm guaranteed Bruce Whipple has come prepared to come to this meeting to see us. I would be stunned if he didn't, and I didn't ask him to do anything. I just wanted him to be here.
Right.
But I would be stunned if he hasn't done some homework
Yeah.
before he got here. And I didn't send it to him, but if I had sent him all the background on all you guys, I mean, he would have, done that homework, because he always comes prepared. I tease him because, maybe it's because he's an engineer. I don't know what the hell he is. But he always comes prepared. And just as I do, just like I say, I prepared 50 hours for this before we started. And but the questions that I'm answering about your deal, I mean, I don't have to prepare. I happen to know more about your deal because I was part of it for a few months. But I certainly don't know, anything about any of these other guys' deals. Although I take that back. I do know about Doris's deal, because one, I've been in that, I'm in that business, and I've been in that business, and of course I know something about the lumber business, because I was kind of in the lumber business, and so when you've been around a million years and you've been in the countless and countless deals, you can add value. And that's the whole thing about the Dream Team. You want guys that can add value. Now, I haven't been in every business. Of course, I've been in the movie business too, and the entertainment, and don't forget about that. And so, virtually I've been in everybody's, except for Dave. I haven't been in the Shylock business, like he is.
The scavenger business.
Scavenger business.
Yes.
I haven't really
The
been
body
there.
theater does.
I've looked at buying some scavenger businesses because I like the cash flow,
Yeah.
and I like the cash. I mean, between Bruce and I, we've been in, all kind of businesses. And I even know, not that much, but I know quite a bit about the internet business now.
Oh, right.
And certainly what I don't know, Robert can write books about. So, okay, now we're going to do Mr. Personality. Mikey is going to sell his production company idea to
Be more comfortable on the couch.
Yeah, you can. To be no ice in winter, Dave. Ice in winter.
Well, they do want to give money away, right? Eventually.
Yeah, eventually. Not today, but eventually.
Into my comfortable office with a nice big couch. Come join me.
I'm comfortable just right here. Thank you very much. Tell me about your story, Michael. What are you trying to?
I would love for you to come and join me. I've been traveling for 3 days, and I'm glad, very, very excited to be here. But if you can come a little closer, my voice is a little strange.
Michael, I'm not gonna be able to do that. I appreciate the offer, but you have to stay where you are and not where I am. So go ahead and tell me what you want to do.
You know, I just don't feel comfortable doing that right now.
That's okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm out the fucking door.
Okay, well, when you come to visit him, there's no reason that he should come and sit on the couch with you.
I don't want to go to his desk.
Well, I mean, some of these guys they'll just say fine. Some of these guys, your chair will be, the legs will be 6 inches shorter. Your legs will be 6 inches taller. So he's looking down at you. You know, normally those are short guys, but not necessarily short guys. I mean, I know big guys that have, you know,
They do, and that. How do you manhandle those people? Because I know people have the biggest fucking chairs in the room, and all the chairs are so small.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Look and you
yeah,
feel
but now, guys. I mean, nobody's trying to manhandle me in a long, long time, But I mean, I've told some of the people that have gone to make presentations that that's what's going to happen. Then when it happens, they're stunned. And Bruce Whipple can relate to this story. Bruce and I and Lucinda Burke went to New York City to pitch on her deal. I can't remember if we had already one round of funding, I don't remember, or 2 rounds of funding before we did this. And we go to New York City, and we go there, and there's a guy sitting in the room named Harvey Block. Harvey DeWeasel Block. Now, I knew Harvey DeWeasel from a previous lifetime. And so Lucinda goes through the thing, and this is, Flipboards, not PowerPoint. And Harvey says, Dan, I mean, we know enough about the deal. We like the deal. We like you, of course. We like Bruce, but the kid's got to go. Right in front of her. The kid's got to go. Now, you could have cut the air with a chainsaw from a lumber camp. I mean, Lucinda looked dejected and sad, and I was pissed off. But and I know this fuckhead. And so I asked Harvey, "Can we step outside a minute?" And I stepped outside, and I reminded him of a few facts of life, which I don't want to put on tape, but a few facts of life, what I had done for him in a previous life. And he comes back and he says, he said that, she could be in the deal in some sort of menial way. But she's like Sylvester Stallone. I want to be the producer, the director, the star, and this, that, and the other thing. So we leave the meeting and we're walking back to the, I forget which hotel, and it was drizzling. And as we got to here's the button you push so you cross the street. And so I'm here, Lucinda's next to me, and Bruce is on the other side. And the light was still red for us, and Lucinda was walking like a zombie, just stepped off into the middle in front of traffic. And both Bruce and I, at the same time, grabbed for her little shoulders and yanked her back. She was in a daze. She was comatose. Okay. And so we go to the bar, and we're sitting having a drink. It's about 4:30, 5 o'clock on a Monday or Tuesday. And so you know how if you look in the mirror, you can see the person next to you, And that's how hookers make eye contact. And I'm sure that you didn't know that, Doris, but anyway. That's how hookers make eye contact. And I could see, I look across at Bruce, and he looks at me, and there's huge tears running down her little chubby cheeks. And I'm trying to, what the fuck do I say? And I told her, you shouldn't come to the fucking meetings. How many fucking, I know, especially a prick that I happen to know, and he doesn't give a fuck about her. He'd piss on her. He'd raise his leg to piss on her. He doesn't give a shit. And that's the way it is in the real world. And in presentations, guys will just get up and leave. Like you told me one of the interviews, the guy, was an asshole. When you're interviewing somebody for one of the big firms, or any firm, you're not there to be an asshole. But, they don't care. They just don't care. If Bill Gates and the cosmos of time isn't a fart in the wind, what the fuck are you? Nothing. Contrary to what your mother told you, you can be anything you want to be, sonny. That's just a load of shit. You can be anything you want to be. If you bust your ass, you work 80 hours a week for the rest of your fucking life, you don't be around your mother, your sister, your kids, then you can be anything you want to be. Okay, so she's sitting there, and so I told her she has 2 drinks, and she couldn't drink very much. Her ears used to turn red, like I told you, her neck and her cheeks. And I said, there'll be other people. She says, and I didn't start yelling at her, telling her she shouldn't have come to the meeting. I waited till the next day to yell at her. Don't come to the fucking meeting. They'll be, he looks young, you look young. I mean, when you look young and you're asking for a lot of money, I mean, fuck. Why would I give Benedict any fucking money? I mean, forget about it. The brain cells I lost last night drinking martinis is more than he's got. And you got to understand it. That's why the dream team. That's why the gray fucking hair. That's why you put your resume last. Lucinda sometimes didn't even put her fucking resume in the executive package. She didn't want him to get distracted. Honors degree, pre-med at Cornell. Who gives a shit? 1,600 on the SAT. Who gives a shit? That is in the Disney World. That shit makes a difference. So, and you will get guys that are just pricks. And if you don't run up against a prick, sooner for sure. Unfortunately, if you don't run up against a prick early in your career, when you're going to run up against a real ball buster is when it really means something to you. You need to steal more than life itself. You need to steal more than breath in your lungs. Then you're going to come up against a prick. And he's going to try to steamroll you. But even the most miserable board member that I've been on board with has got enough grit, enough experience, enough balls to fend that off and to make the meeting not a disaster. But yeah, she stepped right up. She was going to step. We hadn't been there to grab her. She stepped right off in front of a bus. She wasn't trying to commit suicide, but she just wasn't paying attention. She was just, because in her little life, she had never, didn't have that kind of dejection. Her parents always told her she could be whatever she wanted. She says, I'm a man that squats to pee. She used to say, I'm really a man that squats to pee. Well, not to these boys. But then she got money from the General Motors and all these other people, but she still remembered those guys. Never forgot those guys. That made her look bad.
That's what made her strong, though.
Yeah, that helped her make her stronger, yeah. But she also didn't go to too many meetings after that. And as long as you're successful, it doesn't matter if you go to all those meetings. The meetings do help you be successful, though, because you get experience. And someday, then 10 years from now, you can go to the meetings and you can, you can succeed. We had a meeting in China not too long ago where the hot shit Chinese lady, English educated, she said somebody couldn't answer a question as quick as possible. What are you, jet lagged? What are you doing here? Out of a Chinese mouth. So not everybody in these Asian countries is,
She said that to me.
Well, I didn't want to say that. Yeah, okay. She said it to you. Absolutely. What are you, jet lagged? What are you doing here? It happened. I mean, just think about that, And then ultimately, as it worked out, I didn't lay for her in the bushes waiting to stab her, but her mouth was infinitely bigger than her ability, and she had made 35 trips to China, 36 trips to China, and the best that and this is for a big accounting firm in the UK, the best that they had done was they advised on 2 or 3 divestitures, and one of the partners, not her, she wasn't a partner, was on 2 boards, Chinese boards, non-paying Chinese boards. Chinese companies don't like to pay for you to be on the board. They just want your advice for free. And she, so then after I was gone 2 or 3 times and we accomplished more 2 or 3 trips than they did in 36 trips, I said, we were sitting across, I don't think you were there then, Amy was getting pitched by the male lawyer. Okay, you weren't there. Our first Chinese assistant was a good-looking girl, and this guy was trying to escort her off to his room at one end of the table. A Chinese U.S. lawyer or a UK lawyer living in the UK. In the meantime, his wives left him. But anyway, at that end of the table, on my end of the table, it was the Chinese girl, MBA, UK MBA, and so. I made sure that she understood I think the only reason you've been coming to China is because you've been dicking so-and-so, the senior partner, because you certainly haven't accomplished anything else. I hope you've had a lot of orgasms. So, which I'm sure, 36 trips to China? Shit, you should own China in 36 trips. And, but yeah, she was insolent. But she was good fighting with the Chinese. I mean, she beat the, she didn't, let them dick us around. But and Chinese don't like getting slapped around by a Chinese woman. We had another meeting where there was a retired colonel, Chinese colonel, lady. I mean, she was like fucking Mao Zedong. I mean, she was, and we're at this meeting, and our first assistant that only lasted a couple of days because she lied to me, was asking the CEO of the company hard questions, just banging on her. And they obviously weren't prepared for them, and so the Chinese colonel, who was the chief operating officer, stood up and said, "We don't need your money. We'll do it ourselves. We'll fund it out of cash." And I said, "Were you at that meeting?" No. Okay. And Derek was at that meeting, and Derek slipped me a piece of paper and said, "Dad, their cash flow, they can't begin to fund the thing." Now, when I was young, I would have jumped up and said, You can't begin to fund your own deal out of cash flow. You're full of shit." But Derek slipped me a piece of paper, so I told him that they were full of shit. So the meeting ended. It didn't end in a fight, but it didn't end too friendly. But it was obvious the Chinese lady colonel wasn't used to being questioned. When you get to be a full colonel in the Chinese army and you're a woman, you have done some ugly things. And she was obviously not used to being questioned by a young Chinese woman, no matter if she had an MBA from University of Michigan in financial engineering. She didn't, and so. But I mean, these are the things that happen when you attend a lot of meetings, and these are the things that give you experience. Okay, now who's going to be? Now he's not coming, and you're not going. Okay, Mikey next.
I would have to treat him differently though if I were to go. I would have to treat him as if he knows fucking nothing about the film industry.
Well, maybe he does. You don't know that.
I would have to do a lot of expository dialogue in order to educate people about what it is actually.
Okay, well then you got to educate people.
Come
I'll
over and
take
sit
a
down
different
and do an
route.
interview. Come over and sit down and do an interview. Why do you got to sit on the couch?
No, it's not that. It's just that when I'm doing something of that caliber, if my posture is wrong, I'm already dead. And if he knows who I am and he knows all this other stuff, he would come over to me. But if he doesn't, I'd have to treat him as if he got a promotion, and that he doesn't understand the industry, and that I have interviewed about 15 banks and 15 other people, and I'm looking to give them the opportunity. And the only reason that he's here, because Mr. Peña said that this is a personal connection, and I usually don't do this because you haven't read the 200 pages of our project.
Well, you can take that posture, but you're going to piss off a lot of people.
Yeah, you're not going to get very far.
I still need to.
You're not going to get any money.
Yeah.
I need to get a one person.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
On a big
you hit a home run only when you swing at the ball. And every time they pitch the ball, you got to swing at it, whether it's from Benjamin, Marcus, or Dave. And so you got to use to get. You need to. When you're Spielberg, you can take that attitude. When you're not Spielberg, and he doesn't have to take that attitude. I'm sure people come to his office and everybody's jumping to put money in DreamWorks or whatever the hell he's got. But I mean, in the beginning, you have to play their game. You can try to control the meeting, as I do on every meeting that I've ever been in. I pretty much control. Very seldom do I not be able to control a meeting. But it's only because I've been, in 10,000 meetings, and just about anything that's ever been asked of a guy, I've been asked. So let's try it again.
Okay.
Okay.
Questions related. Let me get a chair.
You want to switch seats?
No.
Okay, I'm going to set the ground rules. Mikey's done 3 small production films. He's been assistant director, producer, whatever the shit they call it, on a dozen more films. He's been in the film industry, 5-6 years. He's come up by his bootstraps. He's done it on his own. He knows some influential people. He's looking to finance this idea for a production company. It's kind of a soup to nuts production company to take advantage of the studios that are lying empty now, and the equipment facilities, that 70% of the equipment are not being used, from trucks and all the other stuff. And he's got this idea, and he needs, he'll tell you how much he needs to put this idea together. Okay. And you sent him an executive summary saying all this, a chairman, some other guys, fairly reputable, not fairly reputable in the entertainment industry that are on his board. And he's our chief spokesperson. Okay, roll. Camera, action.
I'm very excited to be here today. Thank you so much for taking this meeting.
Good to see you.
I can't tell you how much it's going to mean to the whole industry around the world, based on what's happening with all the studios right now. The independence level is just going to grow exponentially, and Steve Berman at Film Finance spoke very, very, very highly of you. Just to let you know.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome. So you need some money. How much do you need?
we need a lot of money, not just some money. We're looking to change the industry as a whole, especially from what's been happening to what's going to happen. And this is by linear thinking and linear results. This isn't even thinking exponentially, quantumly, geometrically bigger than you and any of your associates. This is just what's going to happen from what happened in the past. Just like Kodak, they're the ones who invented the digital age, and then they killed themselves. This is what's happening to the studios. They're killing themselves. IATSE, all the grip electrics and lighties and all the departments, they're no more. They're all working for $100 a day. There's no jobs. The studios, all the big boxes are empty. Mikey, please use my facilities. Make it look alive again. Make it look alive. I'm like, okay, I'll come over. There are a couple offices here. Those some people here. What do you need done? There's been a lot of bartering, and I don't want to barter anymore. I want to be able to finance my own dreams and everybody else's dreams on the independent level.
Mr. Mike, I just want to know if I have that much money. How much money do you need?
Of course you have much money. You're film finance.
How much? What's the number?
How much money you guys looking to give out? The bank has to do with how much is yours?
My personal limit is
give out personally.
$5 million.
$5 million. It has to be $50 million for me to be speaking to you. So you definitely have $50 million level because we're talking. So I know you can cut that check, and I know you can change the industry as a whole. I know that you have recently seen all the articles in the last 4 years from the Writers Guild destroyed the whole town for a year and a half. All the films weren't in production. That's happening with SAG and AFTRA right now. The producers union is going to destroy SAG. They just haven't because they haven't even tried yet.
So if I wrote down the number of $50 million, would that be a correct number of what you're asking for?
$50 million?
$50 million.
That's your highest that you can lend out? I'm gonna need about $49.5 million of it. Whatever that.
Okay. And may I ask you what kind of loans have you been working with lately? And is there any outstanding loans? And what was the highest amount that you've taken and closed?
The highest amount of loans that we've taken and closed is one film with All's Fair in Love.
Mm-hmm.
It took us 4 years to make this film. We scattered out California's incentives were no good. We scattered out Georgia. We did production in Florida, and then we actually landed in Michigan. We got the 42% from the location. We got about 40% from the actors, Leslie Pence, from William Morris Endeavor. Next thing you know, we have about 82% of our financing. And then the banks gave us, 3 different banks gave us all the money for those based on, hey, this is our 42%, here's our 40% in actors, and then we had to find the 18% for the gap financing, which then Film Finance came in and bonded us. So we had 100% of financing, $15 million. That was the biggest movie to date. That still hasn't been released. Next year, 2011, Valentine's Day. But we're looking to do something on the complete opposite end of that spectrum.
And so the loan, I'm sorry. And so the loan amount was that you've taken and for that movie was how much?
$15 million, 3 different banks.
15.
$15 million.
And you paid it off?
The movie hasn't come out yet.
Oh, okay. So you're looking for a second loan?
No. Though you asked me about my last transaction.
Right. Well, was there a
That's my
loan?
last transaction.
Was there a loan involved? Have you taken a loan out to make that first movie? Or
That's a self-contained entity. That's That's complete debt,
So that's-
complete self-contained entity.
Is
Yeah.
that a no?
Excuse me?
Is it a no? So you haven't taken a loan yet?
Haven't taken out a loan?
Yeah, to complete that.
Have you ever borrowed any money to do a transaction?
No.
Oh, okay. So this would be a first one, and you're asking for $50 million.
Yes, but it's not for any specific movie. It's for a slate of movies, which are board members from the most biggest independent.
The project, we have it here in the summary, and you send it to me as far as the project details, and I looked it over. Okay, great. And is there anything that you can offer us as collateral, or anything that you can offer us that we can collect on in case of this doesn't go through the way you expected?
Of course, I can give you letter of intents from the 10 biggest producers, directors,
Okay.
writers, actors,
Mhm.
the best minds in the industry who understand exactly where the industry's going.
Okay.
That should be suffice. And I know my executive producer over here isn't familiar with how DreamWorks SKG has been formed, but SKG is actually Spielberg, Katzenberg, and Geffen.
Okay.
And Jeffrey Katzenberg of Disney took off by getting his ass kicked out. And then for a wrench, decided to team up with the masterminds of David Geffen's money and Spielberg's name. So then they all put $33 million each. They had $100 million to play with. And they created DreamWorks based off of one name in order to become a huge, massive, overnight super success. And then they decided to, because they had the financing, steal everybody from Disney. The best of the best. You, the best. I want you. What do you want? Done. You, what do you want? Done. And they did that. And did it. And did it. And did it. And they created 3D generation out of warfare. And they've been extremely successful just by doing that on a very small level. And then they went to Paul Allen. If you're familiar with Paul
Listen,
Allen.
Mike, I apologize, but when it comes to collateral, what kind of collateral can you offer us?
Zero collateral. There's no collateral. I'm trying to explain to you our business plan and what's been done in the past, because success leaves clues, as you can tell. So our business plan and model that we're following, the actual independent feature film studio that doesn't exist, because DreamWorks really is an independent film studio. They're a public company. They started off as an independent studio, but they started off way too big. They brought in way too much money. They had no projects slated. They don't actually do a physical project for about 2 years. That's not us. We can get about 20 feature films done within that time period. We have the resources, we have the cast, we have the crew, we have the credibility with the talent agents, with the managers, and all the biggest facilities in all of Los Angeles to New York.
Mr. Mike, those people that wrote those letters of intent, can you bring them over, Mr. Spielberg and Mr. that you mentioned, can you bring them over to the next meeting?
If you'd like to come on set, I'd love to invite you.
And it would be a meeting that we can all get together and talk about your project?
Of course.
Amazing. That's wonderful. When do we meet?
Whenever you like to meet. We're in Bulgaria right now.
Got it.
Get the money! Let's make movies.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Mikey, irrespective of his enthusiasm, will have a harder time because there's no collateral based on these kind of things. And depending on the level of detail in the letter of intent will depend whether they're worth a lot or a little. He will try and succeed selling off the big names, and if Spielberg, etc., are willing to allow their name to be used that way, when everybody uses everybody's name in Hollywood, and whether they get
Everybody's
permission or
buying
not, yeah, okay. But whether they actually agree to that, because nobody's going to give them $50 million without checking, with these guys or these guys' lawyers or these guys' agents, so to add credibility. But obviously, if the team is quality enough, money will be raised. But the names have to have quality, the intent, etc., the paper that is binding them to Mikey and Mikey's project has to be real, and they're going to want to see, irrespective of Mikey wanting it to be a blanket pool. Very few people are able to get money on a pool basis, blanket pool basis. In other words, where there's no specified requirement to invest this much money into this kind of project. And there will be a time frame. Nobody's going to give them an open-ended $50 million to spend willy-nilly however the fuck he wants. But that industry does fund stuff like this. And if you I told you about the Miller brothers that wrote the book, If You're Not In, You're in the Way, that produced the movie from scratch. Harris, what's the name? Something Harris, the actor, bald-headed actor. Ed Harris. They got Ed Harris, and the way that they maneuvered, and they didn't really have him, and they did have him, and his agent told him to fuck off, and that's what he's talking about, okay? And they were able to get a builder in Sacramento to fund the movie, but the builder in Sacramento, unlike probably a lot of entertainment deals, he put him to a timeline and put him to a budget where he had to see the invoices spent, and they were stealing or borrowing, as they said, cameras and trucks and lifts and stuff like I told you a couple days ago. And through sheer perseverance, they got the movie, and Ed Harris did star in it, and ultimately did want to give these two kids an opportunity to make a movie about their dad who had passed away a year or two before. But as some guy on CNBC or Bloomberg's program a few days ago said, movies are made to sheer perseverance, driving it through when nobody wants to do it, etc. And that's what he's talking about doing, to put in some sort of big independent film consortium together. I think that's probably a better way to describe what he wants to do, to put together an entertainment consortium to take advantage of the companies that are not using their assets 100% of the time, for the people that aren't using their assets as actors or cameramen or etc. 100% of the time, and giving them an opportunity to act or be a cameraman more time than not, so they don't have downtime, so they can do the craft that they love. That's more or less the pitch. And there's a lot of actors and people that work in movies that are out of work and that would work for minimum wage. I think, isn't SAG minimum wage like $800? What is it? $800 or $100?
Well, now there's ultra low rates, and they're making $125 a day.
Okay.
95% of the people do 5% of the work, and 5% of the work, it's just ridiculous.
Okay,
Numbers.
so there are people, and so it could be a viable concept. Getting Hollywood, for the lack of one word, to change the way they've done business for years and years and years, obviously won't be an easy sell, even though all these people are out of work and they're willing to work for $125 a day. And so the financial institution that ultimately makes this quantum leap into a different way of financing will have to be very special.
Or a billionaire angel investor.
Well, whoever's going to do it. And but I would venture to guess that and to retain ownership in the company where you've got some sort of meaningful equity position, so when it's successful that you still got some money left over for you, will also be difficult, because it's like a deal we just recently, I told them I put up X amount of money and I take 75% of the business, and if they performed against hurdle rates and this, that, and the other thing, they could claw their way back to 49% they own and 51% that I would own. And then they acquiesced to that, then I thought about it, and I decided not to do it, and so we told them no this morning. Because I don't have time, and if anybody's going to put any money in this, now if I put money in the movie business, which I wouldn't, like I did last time, I'm on the set, I'm this, I'm that, and I don't give a shit. I don't need the adulation of when these people walk in and my director's chair or whatever it is. I'm so far past that, it's beyond, I can't even think about it. But a lot of guys that make big money and doing something else, they like that. They like everybody to blow smoke, and they have the the bimbos, the starlets in your not cabin, what do you call it, with the star in it,
Producer trailer?
Yeah, the trailer, producer's trailer, and at your hotel, I'm way by that. I'm way past that. And Sally keeps tracking me too well. So I mean, that's another thing. Sally keeps tracking me too well. But for some guys, you know, I mean, it's you know, it's like going to heaven. You know, it's going to heaven. And if the movie or the project makes a bunch of money, then you're a genius.
Paul Allen gave Spielberg, Geffen, and Katzenberg $450 million. He was their first investor. He's the one that set them up.
Yeah. Well, and the truth of the matter is Spielberg doesn't need $450 million. He's got his own guy. He's a billionaire.
He only became a billionaire because he went public.
Well, he went public, okay.
That's the only reason.
But that's the name of the game. And that's why the public entity, if you got a company, a private company, you know, I'll pay 3 to 5 times EBITDA or cash flow, earnings before taxes and depreciation. If you got a public company, the public will pay you 15 to 30 times. So you can increase the value of your company easily 5 to 15 times by going public.
And that was all based on ego. He didn't need the money. He just wanted to have the biggest company and make the most money out of anybody. And he really didn't need the money.
Yeah, well,
he
I
had
know.
$600 million.
But a lot of these guys, the difference between 600 million and 2 billion is nothing. I mean, the lifestyle, your lifestyle's not going to change. You got still got a G4, you got or G5 now. You still got all these planes, and like you know, I've said before. I mean, I got rid of all my planes a long time ago because I seriously couldn't justify, you know, having 2 or 3 planes. I mean, just I don't know. I don't care how important you are. But now that they got security at airports, I've talked to Robert about it before. I say, you know, this is a pain in the ass. You know, and now they've got these NetJet things and these international NetJets, and so it's significantly cheaper to travel internationally using NetJets.